Hi and welcome to today's video. My name is Rita. This is my channel 10 Red Lipsticks. I do talk about lipstick sometimes, but mostly I talk about eyeshadow. So today I'm going to be introducing one of my 4 project pans for 2024. I forgot what year it was there. And this one is, you know, could I do a Shop My Stash instead? Could I do some other format? Yes, but I'm choosing to call it a project pan and try and use basically every eyeshadow I own this year. So I own over 100 eyeshadow palettes. I'm not great at hitting pan, but also it's challenging to rotate through my entire collection. So I'm going to have 2 eyeshadow focus projects this year. One where I am trying to hit pan. I will link that video down below. I'm going to do Project Level Up, inspired by Sophie Alexandra. And this one where I'm trying to rotate through my whole collection. Apologies about the reflection on my glasses. I am going to have to read a list of things off the screen, so I feel I need them for this video. Also, apologies if my makeup is looking a bit worse for wear. I wore my makeup, went to work, and now I'm home, so that is also part of why there might be weird shadows. Filming in the winter with limited daylight is challenging. So let's get straight into it. This project is inspired by Sophie Alexandra and It's Just Steph, who are 2 YouTubers I love and excellent panners. And having such a big eyeshadow collection, I just want to get around all of it, have a bunch of fun with my palettes. And last year and the year before, actually, some of the prompts that I enjoyed the most in some of the other eyeshadow or some of the other project pans that I did were eyeshadow related, because I often decided to no pan left behind. That is, use every shade once within a particular palette. So I thought, why not take that to the next level? So in this project and the Project Level Up, I'm going to focus on 100 palettes. I do own more than that, but some of them I kind of own them a little bit for nostalgia or for other reasons. Or for example, I have 3 versions of the Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells palette. I'm only going to include the most recent one with the 5 shades. I don't really want to, you know, wind up using 3 different versions of the same palette. Why do I keep 3 different versions? Kind of nostalgia. It's a cute little gimmick that I have 3 of them. Anyway, so there's some palettes that aren't included in this, but it's most of my collection, and it's kind of all the palettes that I definitely want to use this year. I definitely did not use every palette I owned last year. I used to be really good at tracking my palette usage in terms of which palette I used. And then last year I just didn't like my diary, so I didn't really use it. This year I've gone back to my favourite diary company, which is Box Clever Press, and bought a beautiful diary. And you know those memes that say, don't buy the expensive notebook, it's not going to make you an organised person. That's the case for me. Like, or owning a diary and using it doesn't make me an organised person, but it is the, you know, the wall trying to hold my mess together, and I rely on it very heavily. I cannot remember what time anything is at unless I write it down in my diary and then can go back and read it repeatedly. So love my diary for this year, and I've already been using it, tracking which palettes I have used each day. But more than that, in this project I'm going to be tracking which shades I use each day. So part of how I do that is by writing down which palette I used in my diary. I might prop up a picture of my diary, and on one half of the 2 pages that I have open is the list of the days of the week, and I write down the names of the palettes there, and on the other half is like a dot square, like a bullet journal style page, and I have been drawing pictures of the palettes and marking shades off as I use them. I also tend to take photos on my phone of the palette I used or palettes I used that morning and draw a little X or a check mark on the shades on that photo so that I'm able to look back. So that is how I track my usage. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to stick to that pretty religiously, because this is going to be inaccurate because of a sad tale I'll tell you in a minute. But according to my current spreadsheet, there are 857 shades of eyeshadow between 85 different eyeshadow palettes in this project. Now, could I take less than a year to use all of those shades once? Absolutely. However, some palettes I feel are very seasonal, and it would be pushing myself to do something and use my makeup in a way that I wouldn't fully enjoy, to pressure myself, for example, to use the palettes I prefer to use in autumn before the halfway mark in the year. Now, I'm sure I'll use some shades from some of them, but the idea of challenging myself to use every single shade, you know, in just the first half of the year doesn't seem realistic to me. Seasonal concerns are something I have here, so I'm going to talk now about the rules of the project. So my format is going to be that I will update here on YouTube, but also probably in my stories and some posts on my Instagram account every other month at least. Now, probably I will do every month, but I want to give myself permission to skip months if necessary, and particularly because I'm doing 2 eyeshadow focused projects, to perhaps 1 month really focus on Project Level Up, and then the next month really focus on this project. So you can expect 6 videos about this project, but there could be up to 12, and I feel like there probably will be certainly more than 6, because it'll be difficult to do a video where I talk about, you know, a huge number of palettes, which I could foreseeably, I could possibly use within a 2-month period. So I am going to set a bunch of rules and guidelines for this project, in addition to how often I update. So I want to update at least every other month. With my updates, I want to be able to show at least 1 photo or video of a look that I did with that palette. So I already have a challenge in this, because there's a palette I used before I'd fully set up all the rules of the project, and I have a photo, but it's from far away, it's not really focused on the eyeshadow, so might have to use that one again, we'll see. I am going to see how I go in terms of numbers. I'm going to start this month with 10 palettes, and every month, however many I choose, I'm going to randomize 5, or I'm going to randomize half and then choose half myself. So this month, because it's 10, I'm randomizing 5 and I'm choosing 5 myself. So I am also allowing myself from the randomized palettes to skip seasonally inappropriate palettes. I just don't want to have to, you know, use every single shade in the Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette in March. I don't want to have to do that. So I'm going to make that skippable, and that's already coming into play with this first month. I'm also going to include a BYOP every month, or every update, made out of some of my singles. I have a decent number of magnetic singles. I'm not sure how many, because I just had a tragic accident. I was carrying my piles of palettes downstairs to film this video, and I dropped some things when I was on the stairs, so I've lost 2 palettes and a whole bunch of mostly Glamshop Poland singles. The 2 palettes are from Catrice. I am pretty devastated, but it's probably a testament to the fact that I do own too much, and while I like to think, well, it's not too bad because I'm not overwhelmed by my collection, I'm probably a little overwhelmed, as is testament the fact that I'm not that sad about losing these 2 palettes, even though I liked them. And B, I wasn't that familiar with all of the Glamshop singles, so I'm sure I will notice gradually, oh no, you know, that particular pink that I liked for X particular reason, I can't find it, that must mean it's gone. So yeah, that's a bit sad. But also helping me feel better, and I think definitely a big contributor to it, is I also had in my hands and didn't drop, and therefore they are safe, 2 Natasha Denona palettes, a Glaminatrix palette and a Viseart palette. So if I had to lose some shades, I'm glad they're from very affordable brands. I probably couldn't replace all the Glamshop Poland singles, but I could definitely replace the Catrice palettes if I wanted to, and that I didn't lose my expensive palettes that I really hold dear, and like discontinued as well. The Glaminatrix Nearly Natural is discontinued, so I'm very relieved. It could be worse. However, we do have some of the one of those palettes that broke, it was selected. So anyway, and then a final rule for myself is that blacks, I can just skip them. It's already going to be hugely challenging for me to use the really dark browns. I am going to force myself to use the really dark browns. I don't want to also force myself to use all the blacks. Now, I'll probably use some of them. For example, if I randomise and I get only one palette that month that has a black in it, I'll probably try and use that to, you know, have that sense of completion of the whole thing. But if I randomise and I get a bunch of palettes with blacks, I'm not forcing myself to use all of them. I just don't enjoy them at all, and find them impossibly challenging. I don't do liner. I think they totally overwhelm my face, and I just find them really hard to work with. So yeah, I'm not going to force myself. Every other shade is up for grabs and has to be used though. So let's get into it. For this first, for this introduction, I have randomised 5. I will play the video probably over here from my phone, because I film on my phone, so I can't do it live in front of you. So the list I have is in alphabetical order. Probably the video is not in that order, but let's go through them now. So the first, I cannot escape this palette. This is the KVD Planet Fanatic palette. It's actually lovely. I got it for €12 in Boots in their €12 Tuesday sale. Sorry, I hate when you can't hear people because they have a palette right in front of their faces. So you can see it's a big mix of colours here. There are certainly some, you know, deeper colours that are perhaps a bit more autumnal, but there's also a bunch of colours that I think are very spring, so I didn't feel any need to skip this particular palette. I did have this in my Project Level Up Light just a few months ago, which I didn't do an update on because we had to move house again, blah blah blah. So I've already used some of these shades pretty recently, and I think a lot of them are really lovely. Some of them, the mattes are pretty subtle, but actually I like that. That suits me, particularly with colours like blue that aren't my go-to. So yeah, looking forward to this, and this is exactly why I think this project is such a good idea for me. You know, even with Project Level Up, I think this was level 2, having to use every shade twice and then having 2 focus shades for a higher usage goal was quite a challenge. Now obviously that's proof that I shouldn't buy colourful palettes, that I'm not that jazzed about the colour story just because they're on sale, but I still do enjoy these shadows, so I'm glad to have this project to encourage me to use them. Next up is the Viseart Violette Étendu. This is the new packaging, so it's this purple and then beautiful kind of, not fleur-de-lis, but something like that pattern, like one of those fancy patterns that would be on wallpaper or something. And I think this is a beautiful palette. It's a bit outside my comfort zone, particularly these brighter purples, but I'm still looking forward to using those. And certainly this top row is bang on my comfort zone. I got this as a Christmas present. It was in the Black Friday sale on Beauty Bay, so I haven't touched it at all. So absolutely perfect for it to be included in this project so early on. It's so pretty. I really liked the old packaging with the pictures of the flowers as well, though. Not 100% sure that I prefer this. I think I would have preferred the flowers, but I'm very glad to have this. I'm very excited to use it. Next is our first, oh no, not a tragedy. This is the Catrice Warm Spice look, which I'd already decided to swap out because it's not really seasonally appropriate. It's a warm neutral palette that I'd prefer to use in the later half of the year or even in the summer. So I left that upstairs and I brought down a replacement, which was going to be the Catrice smoky look from the 5 in the Box series, and that smashed on the ground. So, new replacement, the Catrice Clean ID Mineral Eyeshadow Palette in 010 Light. So unfortunately I did not pan this shade. This shade just fell out after I bought it. So obviously it had been dropped in store or whatever. These are really subtle but very beautiful, cool neutrals. And like this shade, it's not a high shine metallic or anything, but I think it's really beautiful. So definitely, I think now, or you know, November, December would be the time to be using this. And this, like this dusty pinky nude is just, it's very subtle, but it's the perfect shade in my opinion. So I am excited to have a reason to use this. And this is the kind of palette that I'm never going to want to pan. You know, it's not so exciting that I want to pan it, but I think I got it half off is why I even bought it in the first place. And I really like these shades, so great to have a reason to use them. Next up are Tragedy, the Catrice 5 in a Box 060 Vivid Burgundy look. So smashed, every single shade is shattered. And while I do really like the palette, I don't think repressing all 5 shades into a broken compact is the best plan, so I'm going to move on. So I'm going to replace that with the Colourpop quad in Sorbet. So this is kind of a burgundy situation, but a bit more subtle. So actually I think this is more appropriate to the season anyway. And I've barely used this. Maybe I've used it once or twice. I got this on Depop or Vinted or something from somebody, I think in Scotland. And yeah, I'm excited to use this. I think the formula of the shimmers in these quads is really pretty. It's like a nice shimmer that then also has this layer of sparkle to it, which I am forgetting which fingers I'm swatching, which I don't know if you can fully see, but I think really is quite beautiful. It's trying to focus on my face, don't do that. So yeah, I think that'll be really, obviously smaller palettes, it'll be really easy to use, lots of these. And then the final random selection, I'm quite excited about this, is the Roen quad in 1111. So this fell down the stairs completely, like bounced up and down the stairs, and it's perfectly fine because it's a higher end palette, it's a bit more structurally sound, and also these are cream shadows, so I'm so pleased that this didn't smash and break. I'll swatch a couple of these, or I'll swatch all 4 of them for you. So there's finger swatches. Actually, I'll just leave it at the finger swatches. So there's what those shades look like. Really, really pretty, and I think absolutely perfect for the start of the year. I'm like, do I have anything I can wipe my hands with to continue to allow me to touch things without making an enormous mess? So then I chose 5 palettes myself. So first up is the Sigil inspired by Tammy Tanuka, Lovely Voice of a Humble Bird palette. So this is this teeny tiny palette, teeny tiny pans, beautiful cool tones. Absolutely love it. Some phenomenal shimmers. I'm really looking forward to playing with this one. It's one that I love so much, but I think partially because it is so small, I don't think to reach for it. Like when I go to where I store my teeny tiny palettes, I'm usually looking for a quad, a one and done type situation that's pretty simple and I don't have to think about it. And not that this is a difficult to use palette or difficult to put a look together palette at all, but it's not what I'm looking for when I go to that section of my collection. But I love the tiny bands, and indie brands like this can be extremely expensive, so I'd much rather get teeny tiny pans to have a huge variety of colours and formula options without having a huge quantity of eyeshadow. That's what I would prefer actually. Next up, another new to me palette. This is the Kaleidos Futurism 7 Sashimi City, and this is what I have on my eyes today. So I've actually used every single shade in this look. I did it in work earlier. There is a little bit of fading in my crease. I'm not sure if you can see, and I'm not sure if you can see them on camera, but the duochrome in the shimmers is just gorgeous. Whoop. So sorry, the sheet with the shade names just fell out there. I just think it is so beautiful, and I think I'll definitely use the shimmers again. But yeah, I have already used the entire palette, which is easier to do with these small ones. Another palette that I have already started is the Natasha Denona Mini Retro, another one great for this time of year. So I used all the pink shades yesterday, and I'll do an all green look probably in the next few days. I love this palette so much. One of my absolute favorites. And then this was my Panda palette in 2022. This is the Beauty Bakerie Breakfast in Bed. I love this all year round, but it is a bit cooler toned, so I think it suits this time of year quite well as well. So you can see I've got a decent dip there in Messy Hair, and I have pan already in Forehead Kisses and Fresh Face. But yeah, these are huge pans, so I didn't do super well on panning the whole palette, but it obviously has great use on it, and it is an absolute favourite. So I am very happy to have a reason to treat myself by reaching into that. So obviously that's a lot of smaller palettes. I'm going to keep it small and simple with my BYOP, and I've got an 8 pan here from Glamshop. I love these palettes. 2 of them broke when all my stuff fell down the stairs. I'm very sad about that. So definitely next time I order from this brand, I'm going to be getting some more of these magnetic palettes. So yeah, I will hopefully switch the camera around now and show you some footage of me putting my little BYOP together. Okay, so I put the palette together on my own. Obviously, apologies if there's background noise, but this will be a quick section. So this is my BYOP for the first month, or the first section of this project. The top left is from Glamshop Poland. It's the shade Fluorescent, and then the second shade is Candy Egg from Glaminatrix. Then we've got Ladylike from Sydney Grace, and then Bunny from Glaminatrix. So these two are both from, I think it was an Easter collection by Glaminatrix. Down here we've got Pudding from Glamshop, Lollipop from Glamshop, Dream from Glamshop, and Bloody Oath from Glaminatrix. So we've got 3 different brands featured here and 8 different shades. Somewhat cohesive colour story, pinks and light blues. I kind of think Ladylike is a bit random, but I just felt I needed to, you know, include everything I might need in terms of I've got a lot of singles to get through throughout the year. So I thought that Ladylike would work well with the Beauty Bay natural palette that I've got in my Project Level Up, because there are a lot of mattes in there. And here are swatches of these 8 shades, trying to get them to focus. There we go. So Glamshop, Glaminatrix, Sydney Grace, Glaminatrix, the top row, and then 3 from Glamshop and 1 from Glaminatrix in the bottom row. Obviously only 2 mattes here, which is not necessarily ideal in terms of using this as a fully cohesive colour story, but I am going to be using it with the mattes in the palettes that I'm working through. And the reality is most of my BYOPs are going to feature a lot of shimmers, because most of my, oh sorry, I was trying to make it brighter, I made it darker. Most of my singles are shimmers because those are the shades I'm interested in. So that's my BYOP for January. So for this month, that adds up to a total of 77 eyeshadow pans. I think that's very doable. Obviously, like today I used 6 shades. Some days I'll only use 2, but some days I might use 10. So, well, that's probably unlikely. So I'm hoping I will knock this out of the park, get all or most of this done within a month, and be able to update this project next month. So I'm filming on the 6th of January. I don't know how quickly I'll get the video up. But I'm hopeful I will have an update in February, and then I might knock it into every other month updates. But I think it's inevitable I'm going to reach into other palettes as well. So here is the Charlotte Tilbury, the Uptown Girl quad. And obviously it's only 4 shades. It's meant to be a cohesive look. I wore this on the 2nd, I think, of January. We went to have lunch out with my sister. So I am going to count that use towards this project. I have all the palettes, all 85 palettes that I want to include in this project listed. So I am going to update you with every update, not just about the palettes that I randomized and selected, but also about other palettes, be they ones I already own or any new palettes I get, though I am going to do a low buy. Look out for my low buy intro for 2024 in the next couple of days, or possibly a couple of weeks, depending on how quickly I'm able to edit videos in the next little while. But yeah, so any other palettes that I happen to do no pan left behind style in between each update, I will tell you about those as well. So yeah, that's the gist of it. I'm very excited to get into this, and in particular to use some of the palettes that were randomized that I haven't used in a while or haven't used at all yet. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I know loads of you are doing really exciting project pans this year. I've been watching so many videos introducing new projects and finales from last year's projects, which is really exciting and has reinvigorated my desire to pan and to really get to know and love my entire makeup collection. So thanks for all of your videos. But even if you haven't or aren't updating on social media, I would love to hear about any projects you've got going on yourself down in the comments. Yeah, so happy new year, and happy Nonlig Naman, which is Women's Christmas or Little Christmas, which is what we call the 6th of January in Ireland. And I hope you're having a great day, and yeah, I hope this is the start to a great year of eyeshadow usage and project panning in 2024. Thanks for watching. Bye.